guys, it's Becky and today I'm going to be doing my April wrap up and my May TBR. Last month was a surprisingly good month for me and I read a total of 4 books. You may be thinking that's not a lot, or you may be thinking that is a lot depending on who you are. But for me, that's quite a lot, as recently, for maybe the past year or so, I've only been reading maybe 2 books a month at the most. Some books I just can't even finish because I'm reading so slowly. I've just been in a bit of a reading slump for quite a while now. But for some reason this month was a lot better and I've got through 4 great books and I've even planned to read more books next month. The first book I read was Astralis by Scott Rainton. This is an author that I've read before. I loved his Nixia series and I even read his Saving Fable middle grade the other month. And I really do enjoy his writing. The main premise of Astralis is that it's about horses who are actually phoenixes, and instead of just putting them into a stable at night, they will die every night and return from the ashes that they've left behind in the morning as the sun rises. In this world, you can be an alchemist and you can create different types of phoenixes, and different elements will give them different tactical advantages with the use of mixing ingredients into the ashes before they rise. In this world, the Ash Lords are the upper class and in control of the world, whereas we also have Long Hands and Davidians, who are a lower class and are seen as less by some people. The story focuses on a race of the Phoenixes where our main characters, Imelda, a Davidian, Adrian, a Longhand, and Pippa, an Ash Lord, are trying to win for many different reasons. Each of them has a goal with the winnings that they should be getting. I don't want to ruin anything, but you kind of see them develop throughout the story as to whether they actually want what they want. Overall, I find that the race element just kept reminding me of the Hunger Games, and I don't quite understand why. Well, I do understand why. They're all in an enclosed place and they're all trying to win, but they aren't really meeting each other in the confines of the race. They're not allowed to kill each other, so even when they are fighting, they're not fighting to the death like the Hunger Games. I really enjoy the book as a whole. I really enjoyed the aspect of the phoenixes, but also the aspects of the gods who actually meddle into their people's business and possibly civil war. I'm really hoping that this is explored even more in the next book by Scott, as I really can't wait to read more about these characters, who I also loved as well. They are all very similar as people. They're very strong-willed and they are in it to win it for this race. However, they all have very different motivations and backgrounds, and this changes how they behave. And I really enjoyed seeing each of them, who very clearly have very similar qualities within them, act very differently because of who they are. I think Scott's very good at writing his characters this way. He's done it with other books as well. Next, I read Grace and Fury by Tracy Banhart. This was a great book to read, but I do think I have read it before and I just can't remember it, which doesn't really bode well if I have forgotten the entire premise. You can also see me getting really confused about this book in my April reading vlog. The book is about a kind of patriarchal society where women are kind of owned by men. They can't have proper jobs. They're not even allowed to read. It's completely illegal. And so in this world, the king and his heir get free graces every 3 years to be their companions. And our main character, Serena, has been training to be a grace her entire life, with Nomi, her sister, as her handmaiden. When it gets around to the choosing of the graces, Nomi is chosen instead of Serena, and they must switch roles, and Nomi must suddenly try to learn to become a grace. This creates a lot of tension, and then there's also an aspect of reading. Nomi can read, Serena cannot, but Serena is caught with a book that is actually Nomi's, and so she is thrown onto a island prison miles away from where Nomi is and has to basically fight for her life. Both of them are fighting in very different ways to the roles they've been given. But the main thing I loved about this book was the amount of sisterhood in the relationships, not just between the two sisters, but with other women as well. This is a world where women have been told that they are competition to each other. In order to get the best places in life, they must compete with other women in order to be allowed the happiest life possible. And so I really enjoyed both Nomi and Serena finding a way to relate to other women that they're around and to be there for them and to have a relationship with them despite this horrible patriarchal society. The good thing about this was I didn't realize what the ending was, and I was quite happy with it. I think there must be a second book which I should also get my hands on at some point, and hopefully I haven't already read that one too. I also read Mark Lawrence's newest book, The Girl and the Stars, and I love Lawrence's books. I've read the Ancestors series not that long ago, and I was really excited to realize that this book is actually set in the same world. Except you don't need to have read the Ancestors series to read this book. It's a completely standalone novel. It's just set in the same kind of world building. The storyline follows Yaz as she throws herself into the Hole of the Missing to go after her brother. In this world, you cannot live upon the ice if you are too weak. And so children are being thrown into the Hole of the Missing if they are deemed too weak to survive. Whilst Yaz throws herself in after her brother, she finds out that there's actually an entire clan living just under the ice. And these people are trading and mining and searching for materials under the ice to get all these things that you can't get in normal life on top of the ice, such as metal. We watch all the characters really mature throughout this book. I really like Yaz's character development. Also, I loved the magic system and Yaz and how she learns to use it. In the Ancestors series, we do learn how people are trained to use their powers, but in this one, we kind of see people feel their way, and it's very different, but I really enjoyed this aspect. I also really liked the world building. So we've got the above the ice, the below the ice, and then we have the city, which is a completely different area under the ice, which is full of hunters, but also used to be a city in itself. This world seems to be a far future for Earth if climate change doesn't happen, as ice has taken over most of the planet by now. And I really liked how it shows that our cities may still be standing, but they're going to be very warped to what they used to be. Overall, I'm super excited to read the next book in this series, and I'm super sad that it won't be out for probably another year at least, I'm not sure. And the final book I read was Viper by Bex Hogan. I was told by Connie to read this because it has pirates and that's what I was looking for, and I was not disappointed. Marion is a fantastic pirate, and I loved all her little friends on the Maiden, or not friends, acquaintances maybe. And her father is the most fearsome pirate of all, the Viper. There's a little bit of magic in this book, there's lots of twists and turns, and there's great relationships between different characters. My favourite thing throughout the book was definitely the world building though. All the different isles seem to have completely different uses. One of them is the Island of Flowers, one of them is the Island of Gemstones, one of the Island of Gold because it's the capital. One of them is the island of sheep, basically. It's got farming and wool and other things too. I loved the differences in them because the world building was made so immersive that when you are on Island 4 with the flowers, you feel like you're in an island paradise. It's very calming, it's very one with nature. But when you're on the Island of Gemstones, you're in a very uninhabitable place. It's very rocky, it's very dangerous, and so you feel that while you're there. And this is what I love about Hogans Riding, because you can genuinely feel the difference between the islands just by the description of where they are. I will be reviewing each of these books in more detail at some point, but please let me know which of these books you would like me to review first in the comments below. Next up, I'm going to go through the books I want to read in May. The first book I've actually already started reading is The Sin Eater by Megan Campisi. This is actually a historical fiction, which I was completely surprised about because I assumed it was a fantasy, as I didn't realise Sin Eaters were an actual thing. I thought they were kind of a creature which I've read from another book. I have already started it and I'm already loving it so far. There's a very British monarchy feel to it, to the land. Whilst it's not called English, it's called Anglish. The queens aren't common names for the queens we know, but they do have the plot line is very much each queen has a different belief and religion, and these religions are changed for the common folk on whims because of who's in power. This feels very much British to me, and it feels like it's been taken from an exaggeration, definitely, of what happened in history. But because of this, I'm really enjoying it because I kind of have elements that I'm recognizing, but then there's the mystery storyline that the Sin Eater is undertaking, and I'm really excited to see what happens. Next up, I'm going to read The Sky Weaver by Kirsten Cicerelli. I've actually reviewed the second book on here before, and I really enjoyed both her previous books. Because it's the third in a series, I really don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to talk much about this book, but all I can tell you is the series as a whole has magic, dragons, political intrigue, and lots of action and adventure. I'm so excited to see what happens in the ending of this series, and I want to see what happens to all the characters we've known to love in the previous two books. The final book I'm going to try to read is Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. This is because I've heard so many good things about it, but I don't know if I'm actually going to get round to it. Normally I'm reading 2 books a month. This last month I did 4, which was great for me, but adding 3 to my TBR is definitely a stretch goal at the moment. It also has magic and rebels and political intrigue, so I'm seeing a theme of the books I'm choosing to read. I definitely want that political edge to my books at the moment. I really like the thought rather than just action scene. Let me know what books you're currently reading this month, and also if there's any books you think I should be reading anytime soon. Plus, I would love to hear your thoughts on any of the books I've mentioned in this vlog. And thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.